every week. Well,
Spirit.
Aaron over at the controls. And in Ben's stead, we have our, I guess, our all-star guest at this point.
He's our favorite.
He's our favorite.
Hello.
We were having issues. Not on our end, though.
No.
My setup is perfect in every way.
We never have technical difficulties. So hey, how's your Thanksgiving? That's what we did. That's the whole point of this whole
Mine
month.
or Wesley's, because mine was nothing to speak about. Okay. I worked.
How's your Thanksgiving, Wesley?
It was great. Thank you for asking. How about you? Yes, I recall.
Okay. Because last week, if you were following our podcast, we did the Rocky retrospective. So
Fun
we did
stuff.
The 6 Rocky movies all last week on last week's pod. So I had to watch all of those, or rewatch some of them, obviously. Then I watched all the Mystery Science Theater movies that just came out. There were 6 of them, and I saw this movie plus the first Creed plus 2 other. So I've in a week span I watched like 16 movies. So I can't complain. I had a good Thanksgiving.
Man, 6 Mystery Science Theaters at once released?
No.
Like, is it just new episodes?
Yeah, new episodes. Yeah, they did. It's called The Gauntlet, and they released them all so that you could watch them all back to back. But obviously,
you know why they call it The Gauntlet is because the new show is not entertaining in any way.
Oh, screw you! They did do Mac and Me though, which was kind of funny compared to our episode. It was nice to see.
I don't
how
hate
much funnier we are. Bam!
I don't hate the new show. It's just boring. I got half an hour into the first episode. I was like, nope.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, I love the new Mystery Science Theater. But that's not why we're here today. We are continuing the Rocky theme with this weekend.
To the Creedening.
The Creedening, yeah.
Creedence Clearwater Revival. I'm blanking on lyrics.
Yeah. I was definitely thinking of
Oh, Fortunate Son. Boom, I brought it home.
Call. Yeah, it's one of the Vietnam movies.
He's more like an
Every time there's a
son.
Vietnam movie.
He's an unfortunate son. There you go. So if you're new to our show, we basically talk about a movie, and then at the end we'll give you a rating. I would actually love to hear. Let's wait for it. Wait for it. And
10, 9, 8, go.
Go.
You don't have to wait long.
So Creed 2. This is our. I would say, what is the non-spoilery synopsis of Creed 2?
Well, if you've seen any of the Rocky movies before, you kind of know how it ends, one way or another.
Yeah. So.
And you know what? That's not a bad thing, because the series has a theme. And the theme is being yourself and doing right.
Yes.
By the environment.
By the environment, of course. Thank you.
It's all about
Wesley.
being true to yourself, because you are
Turn in those carbon credits, or how else that system works.
You are destined to fight people. That is
I want to see Creed 3 where Adonis is like punching hurricanes.
Well, very quickly we know that Rocky beat cancer.
Or is
of course he did. He's Rocky.
Yeah. What else would you kind of give, like, if you were going to give the overall plot? Obviously it was billed as bring back Drago, bring back
right. Good concept.
Now he's fighting his son, and it's like the overlap and just the new generation.
My dad beat up your dad.
Yeah.
To death.
To death. To death.
Spoilers for Rocky IV.
For Rocky IV.
For a 30-year-old movie.
Oh, yeah, well, my coach ended the Cold War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My coach tore down that Iron Curtain. How you like them apples? No, but this movie, It's the logical conclusion.
Apples are really good for you. I heard.
They got a lot of potassium or whatever the hell it is.
ain't got no gluten.
I heard bad things about that gluten. It'll take you down.
I'll take.
The show should be called Spark of Tangent.
Tangent, right? You're telling me.
Hey, tangents are a mathematical concept, and I appreciate.
A lot. Actually went in expecting it to be a montage, and
That's usually what they do.
Yeah,
because chances are you've seen it,
right? Yeah, for sure.
And usually the cuts,
yeah,
the cuts they do of those are often unsatisfying as well. It kind of takes the tone away.
Yeah,
because I actually the other day I went back and rewatched Rocky V just to see how much I would enjoy it. Not that bad of a movie.
Oh gosh,
it's not that bad. And you know what?
I got a video for you. Have you seen the work print?
Oh no, is it?
Apparently it's way better. Like way better.
Isn't that the one where Rocky dies?
No, that's the original script, but the work print is just like everything's more fleshed out. There's a bunch of references and like lines in the theatrical that don't make sense because their setups were cut out.
I see.
And there's a lot of setups where the payoff was cut out, so it just feels disjointed and weird. And the relationship between Tommy and we're going back to Creed 5.
There did seem to be some stilted relationship evolution there.
Yeah. Apparently it's way better in the work prints, but I haven't got a chance to watch it, but I ordered it. Yeah, I still give it a positive, overall positive. And here's the really good part that I didn't know about the work print is the work print also takes out all of the 90s hip hop that doesn't seem to work anymore, and it's just Bill Conti's score.
Was really good, but none of the stuff in that movie was.
Some is, but it doesn't work in the moments they're using it.
Perhaps not. No.
So speaking of hip hop,
are you trying to get us back on track? How dare you?
You like that transition? The other part of this is Tess Thompson's character is trying to. They move back to L.A. was the big kind of hinge point because Rocky wouldn't train him if he's going to fight Drago, so they go back to L.A. and she wants to build a career, but she gets pregnant. Boom, and then they go.
Life is over.
That's right. And the rest of the movie is just Apollo.
God, the baby is deaf. We better kill it. Why is that such a big deal?
Yeah, they were freaking out about it.
Because it's going to be a boxer musician.
I won't even say what happens because that would be spoilers. I think this is our spoiler moment. So
Underlips comes in with a chair and knocks them both out.
Yep. At his current age right now.
Wesley, you're...
I'm stopping it just for now.
Okay.
Because it was turning your audio off for me.
I see. Well, we'll selectively
just use your picture. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive into the movie. And we can also reference the first Creed because there's so much that's carried over from that movie that I think works really well in terms of why specifically the Rocky Creed relationship, the Adonis Creed relationship, which in the first movie.
Yeah.
Better.
In what way?
The poetry was
the legacy sequel.
Yeah, legacy sequel. Well, to put it in abstract terminology, it was a rhyme, whereas The Force Awakens was a slant rhyme. Was that deep enough for you?
Yes.
No, I'm way underappreciated in my time. Hey, Wesley, you're back.
There he is. Well, so I know in Creed 2, they kind of set it up with Rocky almost abandoning him. Like he refuses to.
That's not a very Rocky thing to do.
Be a part of him getting himself hurt again or whatever, which just seems like such a. I don't know, like to set it up that like he just won the title. Like, why wouldn't he stand a chance? Like, he kind of abandoned. He just gave up on it
because those Ruskies are crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was, and it also to be fair though, it came after a really great scene where Drago goes to his restaurant and they talk with everything in his life. And one of the best parts about Creed 2 that I thought was that they didn't just make the opponent cartoon. Like, they actually gave him time to.
I mean, even in Rocky 4, there are humanizing elements of Drago in the end.
Yeah, but the whole time though he's just kind of training. He's
a robot until the last 30 seconds of the movie.
Yeah, whereas in this movie they really show him being really hard on his son and like blaming, like bringing up their mom and his son. I thought the performance of Victor Drago was great. What did you think, Wesley?
Liked it. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, he never spoke English once, so I couldn't really.
But you really
don't know the inflection of the Russian accent.
I do. I grew up near Little Russia.
Oh, okay.
Well, yeah.
I live in Little Russia right now, or Little Ukraine rather. But
same thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's about to be the same thing. But no. I thought he was good, but I wanted to step back real quick to what you were talking about. Is I sort of don't like that was a repeated beat from the first one. That you have to have that Rocky Adonis fallout, so that you can have that. The makeup scene is great, like in both times. It's great that they have like
it's a
that
misstep.
Really delicately.
It's perhaps a misstep, but handled well.
Yeah, well, or even
what's the formula? I mean, every time that's the whole. Like it was easier in the first one, or more natural and more organic in the first one to have the fallout and all these other things. Like, you always have to knock them. It's the whole thing is every single time they come up with different ways that
you gotta get knocked down.
You gotta get knocked down, exactly, so that they can feel like the underdog again. Every single movie is the exact same way, and so this one, I agree with you that they didn't need to do that. I don't think he could have just gotten beat up, right?
And it was worth it for the makeup scene because it was it's necessary in the sense that Adonis had to continue to grow, but the level, I guess the level of the drama was like, this is a little over the top, but it did make that scene in the trophy room like. So much better.
Here's the deal: it's a Rocky movie, and they are not known for breaking formula. And probably most of us would be upset if it didn't do that. If you do or don't,
I mean, it just, to me, it especially given how. Just how like quickly Rocky was like, yeah, I can help you beat him, and here's exactly how to beat him.
Changed my mind.
Like once he comes back, and it's like, yep, here's exactly what you need to do to train to beat him. Like, why didn't he do that the first time? You know, like I don't know.
You guys slip that jab. You're done.
That's his whole thing. Slip the jab. Slip the jab.
Apparently, that's really important.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I get your point though, Wesley, that he needed to kind of grow almost independently, and it gave us time to like see their his relationship with Tessa Thompson go a little bit better, and you know, then she's pregnant. They have that great scene where the mom realizes that she's pregnant before they do, and seeing how that evolves a little bit. The one thing I will say for it. Well, not the one thing. I loved this movie, so I should say that. But it felt like an actual natural continuation of Creed. So it didn't really feel like Creed 2. It felt like we only got half of Creed, and then this. It didn't feel disjointed. Yeah.
Dude. And which I liked.
Yeah, like it doesn't do like a major time leap. either. Like it. I mean, it kind of does, but it doesn't feel that way. It feels earned.
It's like supposed to be real time.
It's 4 years, I believe.
4 years, okay.
Let me get that Wikipedia page open.
Because I know they started the movie with kind of planting the seed that he needs Adonis needs Rocky in his corner. Like it's almost like he's reliant on him, and they didn't really push that, though. They didn't push that angle that people perceive him as only as good as having Rocky there. But that to me, I think almost explains why they needed to show Rocky leaving and see why he would, like, what he would do on his own. But I don't know, the setup at the start wasn't as strong as, I don't know, some of the other movies.
It's a tough line to ride, because conceptually, if it's almost like saying nobody's any good without Rocky around.
Yeah,
which is both a good and bad thing to say.
Right. Yeah, it's a real tough balance for a
because, like,
Rocky
on the
series.
one hand, Rocky he's bigger than a person. He's an attitude about life, and that's
meatballs.
That he goes crazy with the garlic. No, it's as a concept, Rocky is about spirit and all that, and it's good to have that concept in all of us, but on the literal side of things, it means nobody can ever be as good as Rocky as long as he's not around.
Mm-hmm.
So you got
You're always in the shadow. Almost.
You got to ride that line very carefully, or else it looks like that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what Rocky V was about.
Well, so this, what I thought that, again, my X factor, if you go back to last week's episode, was all about synergy. Was about how it kind of gets to the idea of getting knocked down and getting up again. But really, that was what Chumpawumpa there.
Hey.
But really, I thought the big X factor for the whole Rocky series is the idea of being humble. And they really copy pasted the, like, forgetting to be hungry and humble in this one, like that they've done in all the, like 3 and 4 especially. Like Rocky's like doing commercials and all this stuff, and he's forgetting about.
Well, he did commercials
training.
in 2 as well.
Well, yeah, but he was bad at them. That was the point. That was the difference. He was so bad at them, and then all of a sudden he's great. This one, they really showed that juxtaposition of Creed getting really big and not. I mean, they didn't show him to the same lavish extent, but they showed
hungry.
Drago, like Victor Drago, like going through, like his dad torturing him.
Yeah, when you're eating donuts, the other guys.
Right. Yeah. So they did a lot of that at the start, which it works really well, especially if you haven't seen a lot of the other Rockies. But it was kind of an echo from the past that wasn't necessarily new. But they did a good job. I know that we were. Giving Victor Drago and even Ivan Drago in this movie, like 30 years later, an arc, like giving them an arc to follow.
Yeah, and it's not too much humanization either. I mean, of course it's important
because you can't make them heroes.
They're obviously human,
yeah.
But what I mean is they still have to be an adversary.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
If you're like,
they're still gonna tell him to his face, "I will break you."
Yeah, and that's not a bad attitude to have.
Yeah,
you gotta work hard.
Go ahead, Wesley.
I think the thing that keeps this fresh, because like we said, it's the same formula over and over. And since I think you guys said you didn't have to watch these all back to back last week, right? That was just me.
Well, that was just me and Ben.
Okay, I watched them all back to back, and what I noticed was it's the same formula, but everyone has a different.
They're all a little different. Mm-hmm.
They have a different theme, and the theme of this one, that at least what I took away, so I could be completely wrong on what it was intended, but it seemed to play over and over, especially given the main character's like main issue in the first one is that these last two have been about fatherhood.
Yeah.
Like that is the number one message. And I think with your like, oh, nobody's good without Rocky, I think it's more about what you take away from your father, the good or the bad.
Astute.
Yeah. So like Rocky has to grow in this too. He has to learn from Adonis about how to be a better father for his own son.
Yeah.
And then
true, they had that little reunion.
The arc for the Dragos is it's 100% just what kind of father Ivan is, like what kind of how he's been to his son, and it plays out really great because like that ends up being the most important thing to Victor. Is his relationship with Dad. He doesn't even care about.
Oh, he hates his mom. He hates his mom. That was a good angle.
Also, she looks horrible. Sorry, Brigitte Nielsen, but she looks.
To be fair, I don't think anyone likes Ms. Nielsen. I don't think she likes Ms. Nielsen.
Yeah. She was playing
I barely recognized her, man.
Yeah. Well, but I think you hit
it. Like, who's this old lady?
You hit it right on the head. That's why I think not only do they give them an arc, but the arc is so well tied to the overall theme, not just from Creed 2 either, from Creed 1. Like, there's a lot of get out.
That's about his dad.
Right. And like, get out from your dad's
his arc,
shadow.
And this was more about the father. Yeah. And this was more about like what a father has to do, because the other part that we didn't even mention is that Adonis has to learn how to be a father. Like, that's his arc too.
It all connects.
Yeah.
It's like a Lego set.
It's like a writer designed this movie.
Oh my God!
There was a
but where's the mystery box? Also, I need the mystery box.
What's his name? This is the first, or not the first one. I'm Sylvester Stallone. Sorry, he did not write Creed, but he wrote this one. So I feel like that he wrote this. Yeah.
Play.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I'm checking the credits.
He was going to direct it until like a month or so before production.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Directed
I like this director, Stephen Cable Jr.
Yeah. What else has he done? I'm on this.
I don't know.
He did The Land.
Ryan Coogler did. Ryan Coogler? Is that
Coogler? Yeah.
Coogler did the first one. He's great. He always partners.
Stephen
with
Cable
Michael B.
did
Jordan.
The Land, which is a really, really celebrated Sundance movie from
Prentice and Fury's Ice Cream Adventure.
Well, that's cool. He got
Classics.
This was a huge bump up then in terms of scale of movie. It sounds like this was his first big foray into blockbuster.
Well, what's beautiful about the Rocky series is that all these movies are, I mean, you could say they're large in scale.
Just in their
scale.
reach.
Sure. Yeah. Just in
and that's my favorite stuff. It's very focused.
Yeah, it is very. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
It knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything else. I mean, it's obviously
it's just the greatest sports movie franchise of all time. That's all it is.
Beauty is you can see it as one,
but it's not. This was the thing I loved about Rocky in the whole Rocky series is that it kind of went off the rails.
No.
Even talking, it's built into the formula that they screw up and they always have to fall down.
When they get punched, they bleed.
Right. Yeah, and so this
is going to sound weird, but their writing is almost Pixar-esque.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
You could see these being Pixar movies,
except it doesn't stink. Pixar used to be
you
good.
Don't like Pixar?
Not anymore.
I like Pixar.
I enjoyed Pixar up until Ratatouille, and after that, I was done.
I thought you liked The Good Dinosaur.
It was all right. It was forgettable. I don't even remember the plot.
We did that whole
yeah, I don't remember that movie at all. That should be very telling.
Inside Out was really good.
Inside Out's really, it's the one I was going to also.
Sappy and predictable.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Are we gonna fight?
I'm sorry.
Is this
I don't have a ding ding noise.
Joke in a movie in 10 years.
Ding ding. Let's go.
No, I'm only saying it saccharine in its presentation, and it was.
You're just a cynic.
Tied back to Rocky's motive. It's a mirror image of like it's not really about pride or masculinity or whatever.
It's about
like
doing.
It's just like it's who they are, right? Yeah, and they really bring that together, and that like, and somehow it. Family a little bit, like this is the reason I'm doing it, like I'm just, or even the pain that your family goes through to enable you to do what you feel like you're meant to do.
The reciprocation.
That was a big part again in this one. That I thought was, I mean, we were talking a little bit like this is such a good extension of the Rocky series into something new that ties back to the original.
Yeah,
like,
discussion before the show, is how this was such a good tangent. Anyway, you can.
What else from this movie? I'm sorry, I'm scanning through my scribbles here.
I think this movie and Creed 1, did a really good job. They do a really good job of calling back to the originals without laying it on too thick. For example, in this one they used Adonis proposing to be a really great moment for Rocky to do exactly what a real father would do, to say, like, this is how I proposed. And that moment was phenomenal.
I mean, as far as calling back, I was a little upset when Rocky handed his lightsaber over to Adonis.
You know, and then when they started this one,
was your father's lightsaber.
An elegant weapon.
He just throws it into the spit bucket, like. And
as soon as Adonis touches the lightsaber, he has like flashbacks to Apollo getting killed.
Yeah.
Thanks, JJ.
Yeah. That's really funny.
Lots of fun.
The other tieback was Creed saying that he was afraid to go back in the ring after he had lost and gotten beaten. Like, again, that was, I'm afraid, okay? Is that what you want? Like, that's the only thing I heard when he started to say he was afraid, was that beach scene from what is that, Rocky 3?
Yeah.
3? Yeah.
Yep. What's wrong with you, man?
Yeah. Which is, this is an awesome callback if you know the reference, that like that was his dad telling him what's wrong with him. Oh, that would have been.
I half expected a Carl Weathers cameo, kind of like the Mick Ghost. Yeah.
But no, save this conversation, because I want to ask about where we think Creed 3 could go.
I don't think there's going to be a Creed 3.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree with you.
Let's check the Wikipedia. They'll often hint at it.
I'll let you know if it's been greenlit.
Yeah, but keep talking.
The thing that I just
oh man.
What?
Yeah,
well, for sure. Yeah. But like in this one, there are long, and in Creed, the first Creed,
had more steady cam tricks.
Yeah,
I think Creed was superior. The first fight more than the
it was
last
one
fight.
Shot.
Yeah,
it was like minutes.
Yeah,
and like the thing that blew me away, I got chills in that moment in Creed where he takes the punch and like leans back, and when he comes back down, his eyes split open. I was like, how wizards like how? Like, how did you split his eye without splitting his eye? But yeah, like that level of planning.
Just one person, you are watching this intense fight scene, and all of a sudden, wizards.
Creed 3 has not been yet greenlit.
Okay, I still want to talk about it.
That one take though. It really, like, I was expecting it because I hadn't seen that until Friday or whatever, and like I kept hearing about how great it was, and it was twofold because it was happening and I didn't realize it. So I watched that entire fight, didn't think about it being one take, and then went back and watched it again to watch that one take. So it's great that I got sucked so deep into it I didn't notice, but then going back and watched it, it was really reminiscent for me of that one take in Black Panther, and that kind of like, I already liked Ryan Coogler because of Fruitvale Station and Black Panther. I hadn't had a chance to see this yet, and it like that's some supreme level planning and direction.
Well, yeah, I appreciate long takes for more than one reason actually. One, it lets the cinematographer flex muscles and stuff, and two, it exposes bad actors. Your actors have to be good.
They have to be. But the other thing about that scene in Creed, the first Creed, was the way they worked in Rocky coaching him too. Like it wasn't just fighting. It wasn't just like beat him up with things happen. Like they panned over to the side, and that was when Rocky goes, do it now, and but they panned over to him for just a second at the right time when he was screaming it, and then they swing back and he does exactly what he says and knocks him out. Which isn't to say that Creed 2 is much worse from it. It didn't have the same iconic. It was a more
standard cinematic fare.
Yeah, and it kind of fell back on general fighting, but that,
which is not to say it's bad.
Just real, like it doesn't feel like they're whiffing.
Based on what I've read and watched, the punches are real.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they speed it up a little bit.
Real-ish.
Yeah.
Well, like the shot in Creed where Adonis goes down hard and he has that like seizure and then jumps up instantly. That was a real full strength punch that knocked him out in real life. And there's like cell phone footage. Like I guess Sylvester Stallone recorded it with his cell phone, and it showed like in real speed. Honestly, I'm going to throw this out there since we're talking about that.
Yeah, all right.
I think every hit,
and
I don't
Bruce
like
Lee
the slow-mo
punched too fast
all.
for cameras to pick it up. Okay.
I don't like the slow-mo in sports films anymore. Like it sucks me out of it. But a real hit looks way cooler. Like especially action sequences. Like let's talk John Wick. If John Wick did like slow fast, I would hate that franchise. But the fact that it's wide,
there is only one movie. And two movies. The Matrix didn't do it a lot, but it was cool. Whatever.
But it started it.
Yeah, it started. It was the progenitor. 300 did it well, I thought. And it was
Yeah, and it was that was creating tableaus rather than like being a compelling movie. And like that's like nobody would call that a great film. You'd just be like, "Oh man, this is a really interesting way to do this." And I hope nobody else does it again because they're not going to do it as good as this did. But every movie tries. Robin Hood tries.
It's a good film, more or less. I don't think it's great.
I think it's a good movie. I do not think it's a good film in the sense.
Oh my God, are you in film?
Yeah, it's popcorn. I mean, it's popcorn.
It's popcorn with good,
But the themes come from the Frank Miller comic, or graphic novel. I'm just saying.
Like a movie has to be adapted from a screenplay. What's different from adapting it from a comic?
Well, I'm saying that the movie didn't especially highlight those, and I don't think Zack Snyder is good at handling themes like that. He gets lucky, honestly.
He gets lucky. No, I think he's generally good with themes, but communicating them is not necessarily his strong suit.
Anyway, another tangent.
Sorry, Matt.
Tangent. The thing I was looking at, so you mentioned him getting knocked down in the first one, and then he spazzes up when he remembers his dad, which was a really great moment. This one, I don't remember. He gets knocked down and he just starts hammering the ground. I forget I don't know if they showed us what he was thinking about.
Awesome. Yeah, it was like,
it was awesome. It was an awesome shot. Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah, he was just remembering his life,
which is a great reversal.
Yeah, and he just is like pounding, and he gets back up, and then he just wails on him, and that's when I literally was just applauding.
Oh, the gape. Internally. Clap when your waiter gets your order right.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
stand up.
Still no pickle.
Oh,
in peace. That actually really hit me hard. That's really bummed. Steven Hillenberg. Well, but seriously though, the end of this fight, the second fight, I thought was brilliant. I thought was perfect. It was one of those like, the rest of this was formulaic, but I was like, yep, you stuck the landing. Like it ties together this arc for Victor Drago, where he's still just has so much dignity and refuses to go down, and then his dad throws in the towel, and it all comes together.
The arc is completed.
Boom, perfect. Like how we got there might not have been right, but they got it to a point where relates the movie's themes, but also sets you up for the next ones pretty well.
And it ties up all the loose ends from the other movie.
Right, exactly. It to me, it almost it forgives a lot of the faults of 4. Exactly, yes. Yeah. It retroactively helps it.
Don't you think that's why there shouldn't be a 3?
Because it completes so much of the arcs?
That's a good point. It
completes the series. Like it brings and especially, I don't know, are we going full spoiler?
Yeah, oh yeah.
At this point,
sure.
Especially with Rocky not getting in the ring. That was the perfect final shot of a Rocky franchise. Like it was.
I did it for this one too. They did that.
Well, in much the same way that either the Rocky series should have ended at 2, it should also end here, perhaps.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I'm not saying it should. Pretty much, that was a point to do it.
I don't think they can. I don't think so. Before we get to, I'll just say I don't think they can or should end it here.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't.
The first thing I'll say though is that I don't want to gloss over it, but I also thought the way they let Rocky go out. Some people are. I read some just headlines of articles. I didn't read them, but they said that like Rocky deserved better than this. I actually
deserve better than what? Like. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I know. I'm surprised that they didn't have a scene where the nurse tells him that he's in remission and they play the trumpets. Also, the scene with the trumpets, I had goosebumps in places I don't have hair follicles. Like, it was amazing. My fingernails had
my fingernails are tingling.
Yeah. My fingernails are tingling, Nick. Is that normal? I'm having a stroke.
Nick, I'm coming. But again, they had such a good attention to the. I know we call it poetry, whatever, but like him bouncing the ball, they never address why he has the ball, what it's used for. Any of the movies,
show don't tell.
He does it. Every single movie, he's always bouncing that ball.
He doesn't do it in 3 or 4, I don't think.
I think he does it just on the side. Maybe not. Maybe
I don't
not.
remember it, but it might be there.
He does it in like 4 of the movies. He definitely did it in Creed.
1, 2, and 5.
He definitely did it in this movie.
Yeah.
And then he goes to see, after a whole movie of the theme of fatherhood and getting out of your dad's shadow, all these things, and how fighting impacted his relationship with his family. Mm-hmm. And then he goes and sees his son, and finally that he missed the birth of because nobody, he wasn't a part of me. It for him.
Well, I think they implied that, like, because didn't they say, I could be wrong on this and misremembering, but it sounded like Adonis said that he moved permanently out of Philly.
Rocky did?
Yeah. And to me, maybe that was the signal that,
maybe
like,
I missed it. Yeah.
Even if we do another Creed, Rocky's not going to be in it.
Oh, yeah, for sure not. And Stallone just recently announced he's retiring the role.
Oh.
So, like, publicly.
Yeah, he
saying he's retiring the role of Rocky.
Yes.
Yeah,
so if there's a Creed 3, he won't be in it.
Right. Which I think is the reason they have to do a Creed 3, which is the whole point of these movies has been setting him, like, again, we kind of hinted at the start of Creed 2 movie that he's always dependent on having Rocky there and he can't do it by himself. We got to have at least one movie where he does it by himself, or it almost like it does, like, we will forever remember he's still tethered to Rocky right now. And the legacy of Rocky,
sort of like the franchise itself.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I think they need one where he does it all on his own. That would be mine. really have to lean heavily on,
like, do a rectal extraction like they did with Clubber. A good rectal extraction, but it was pretty random.
I don't know. Like, it'll be
proposal.
tough. Go ahead.
I want to know what you guys think of this. You're going to pick up where I'm going early, but withhold until the end.
I'll let you finish
for your opinion. Let's say in 10,
sorry, go ahead.
in like 10 years, and like we just ignore the real world timeline and say in 10 years, there's still no Creed 3, but we get a really great movie, like a really great indie feeling film about a young black woman trying to graduate or trying to get into college. She's deaf, and it ends up being a backdoor sequel about the daughter, sort of like Split. How would you feel about that? Where it stands completely on its own merit, but you find out it's this.
And it has nothing to do with has nothing to do with boxing.
As long as it doesn't use this series as a crutch, I don't care.
It's what I'm saying. It's like it completely stands on its own, and then you find out. It's like I'm going to go home to my parents, and it's like it's Michael B. Jordan playing a 45-year-old man. I mean, he's 32, 3, something like that. So like in 10 years, he'll be like 45. He could have a college-age daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, the series is so dependent on boxing. Maybe I don't know.
But that's why I think it would be interesting, because it's not dependent on boxing. Boxing is the metaphor they use right now for like perseverance, and with her, she's not a boxer. It evolves into one where he doesn't want to go to college, or he went to college, but he doesn't want to. He wants to do this, and Rocky couldn't go to college, so it's like one step further into that world to where she's the one who she's not going to be a boxer. She's deaf.
Yeah, college is overrated now anyway.
But like she's the one. She's the one that finally does what Rocky wanted him to do, and kind of breaks this fighting cycle.
Theme of you don't win, you just do a little better each time.
I suppose, or it's just like, boxing's not her thing, but she has her own things to overcome because she's deaf. I don't know. I didn't get it.
Monopoly that it was, well, they were playing Monopoly, maybe. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to say that was my way of saying Cleveland is my favorite Family Guy character. Hello, Cleveland. Hello, Peter.
Hey, Peter. I think I don't disagree with the idea to just break it entirely. I think the next one would be great if they got away from boxing for a long. To tie it back to it. I mean, unless because people won't go, they won't go to the movie.
Right.
Well, no, you wouldn't market it as that. It like nobody.
Well, I know. Even
said, like,
then,
go
though,
see Split. It's the backdoor sequel to Unbreakable.
I think I don't know if that was intentional when they made that movie. I haven't seen
definitely.
Split. I haven't
it
seen
was
Split,
an aspect of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, then I'm an idiot. To me, though, I think my fear will be that they over rely on. They basically repeat Rocky 3 issues where, like, he's so big now. Look how famous he is. Look at all the stuff he's doing. Look how famous his wife is.
Look at this robot.
And and it just kind of goes out of control. But having seen what they did Creed 2, yeah, there's a lot of the formula there, but they did enough. They did the formula better, but also they broke it in really specific ways that I think worked really well. That I think the franchise is in really good hands.
Seems to be.
So I'll just be interested. I think the biggest problem is, I mean, I think these movies did pretty well, but if Rocky's not in it, I'm not sure how big of a draw it's going to be. But I'm just the general audience of it'll probably be boxing related, and I'm not sure Michael B. Jordan has the individual clout yet. Like, maybe that's
pretty popular.
Yeah.
He's not Sylvester Stallone, but then give it time.
I think they'll need to get a slightly bigger name to fight.
I would be willing to disagree, especially, let's say it's another 3 years. Michael B. Jordan's going to be one of the biggest names.
He needs to do like a big.
You think so?
A big.
He already is, really. I really think he is. I mean, he has one of the most marketable names in the world already. But
yeah. I mean, when I went to these movies, I thought I was getting Michael Jordan. I was pleasantly surprised. So.
No, I think he should solidify his position in the movie industry by doing a big, dumb action movie.
Well,
he did.
Maybe like Fantastic. Or,
no, a better one. Oh. Not a Marvel flick.
Well, he did Black
Fantastic
Panther
Four?
after
Chronicle?
Fantastic Four. Yeah.
No, I actually like Chronicle.
I do love Chronicle.
It was
Chronicles.
all right.
It's Power Rangers. It's a good Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
This is a controversial opinion. I'm curious what you guys think. we did Black Panther on the show. I don't know if Wesley, you probably.
It was okay.
I think Michael B. Jordan is very. His performances.
It depends on the movie.
Creed. Amazing in these movies, and I can pick out Chronicle, The Wire. I can think of a bunch of Fruitvale Station, obviously. But one of my biggest complaints from Black Panther was actually I wasn't a fan of his character as written, and the themes from the character were good. I wasn't a fan of how he delivered the role versus the rest of the movie.
Right.
Which I don't know if people agree with that. That's one of my.
Well, let's use the scientific. In the scientific method, we work with variables and controls. What is the control here? It is the same actor in both movies. Mm-hmm. What's the variable? The director, the screenwriter.
Yeah.
Well, the director was the same in Black Panther and Creed.
What?
Yeah, they were.
Then it's the screenwriter.
Same screenwriter. Ryan Coogler wrote them both.
Oh my God! Then there's no science here.
So I think you're.
I want to narrow down on what Matt's talking about, because I think I know what you're talking about, and What
I'm talking about is that I think he plays. It's not that he's a bad actor. I think he's less versatile an actor than we think, and I think the version of himself that isn't super wide didn't necessarily fit the Black Panther, at least what I was expecting, versus it is hitting exactly what I want.
Can you describe what it is about that performance, just so I can see if we're on the same page?
It's been a while, but what I remember is that it was I mean, it wasn't necessarily villain. It was very not villain. I'm not even articulating this super well. The role of Killmonger represented so much more than what I thought he was delivering. And I think that what he was delivering to me felt very forced in terms of what his clout was in the movie. And it just felt... it's hard to describe having not seen it in a long time. I mean, you could watch the podcast. I said similar things.
You mean like many Marvel baddies, he felt forced?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just like what he represented felt greater than what he was delivering. Like it didn't match up like the loft.
Question. What I picked up on, and I will say this, when I first walked out of the movie, I liked it. Thought it was, I think it's an okay movie. But I did not care for Killmonger. I didn't care for his performance, but I thought about it. And the reason when I was able to isolate why, it was because everything he said felt like he had said it 10 times already. And he was trying to get the cadence and the yell down, because he yelled basically everything. And it sounded...
I don't know. It didn't feel supernatural.
And so when I thought about it, it made more sense, because that is exactly what I'm willing to bet Ryan Coogler asked of him, is saying, this is somebody who's thought about what he's about to do for the last 30 years. And so everything he's saying, he's already thought about, rehearsed this over, because he has to be prepared for every eventuality. And so this is not a impulsive person who speaks from
the hip.
Yeah, it's somebody who knows. He's very he's got conviction, and everything he says he's already thought about. And
with the screenwriter, like performances, like they were not aligned in terms of effectiveness of just coming across as natural. Like,
yeah, there's no way to tell whether it was that way.
The difference to me is night and day between Killmonger and the Creed character. Like, he's so charismatic and there's like a depth to, you know, his entire past that comes through in any moment, and how he's it's sometimes very raw and angry, that almost uncontrollable. And then sometimes he come all the way down. He's bringing his kid to the boxing ring, and he starts hitting the bag real slow. And then
see, that's how I felt about Killmonger too. After was that everything he said sounded like a platitude because that's all he had. He had nothing else. And even at the end, when he is like, "Hey, I'm just gonna, you know, die," it was another platitude. Like it was this overdramatic rationalization.
Let me just open up this can of sayings.
Yeah, something I've said over and over and over and posted on message boards when I was mad type stuff, because he didn't have anything else. This was his one singular drive, and the only time the improv stuff that felt more natural, like the like, "Hey auntie," you know, that felt like Creed. So it felt like there was a little bit of it in there, but he was like, I've got a goal and nobody's gonna like detract me from it.
Yeah. I mean,
and there were elements of really greatness in it. Like I really love that moment right when he beats T'Challa and kicks him off the.
Yeah,
I was like, that felt real.
I
finally did it.
I'm kind of oversimplifying a little bit. I just remember that was one, and to be honest, I may be wrong. I've only seen the movie once, and it was when it first came out. I think
it's way better.
Michael B. Jordan pair, because Ryan Coogler wasn't. He was, I think, a producer for this one, maybe.
Yeah, he was EP.
Michael B. Jordan has tapped into the character so well. I mean, this is one of, I think, his best performances is in these two movies.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody else to do that role.
And I'm thrilled with a third movie, regardless of. I think they need it to complete the trilogy and complete the kind of arc of his character. You know, the first one is very much about overcoming his name and his past and building himself up. This one's very much about getting knocked down and
transitioning, I think, into fatherhood. Yeah. I don't know where you would go. Flavors. I don't know how you would close that, because it felt this.
I think you have to try, though. I think maybe we don't know how, but I think they have to. I think they have to do one movie where Rocky's not involved. Otherwise, the Creed franchise isn't a Creed.
Yeah, it's Rocky. Rocky Jr.
And how they've built up this new extension of the characters from the original series.
Yeah, they have to try. They might fail, but they have to try.
They have to try. Okay, let's kind of go around. Maybe this is more of a recommend Creed, I guess, as a continuation, because we're kind of lumping the two together. But if you had to rate the movie, what would you give it? Let's.
I would give both of the Creed 1 and 2 a 7. Both very solid, very good. It's about the same rating. It's call it anything special, but it's very special to me personally. Very solid.
Okay.
Ever heard of my rating system? 7 is not a bad rating.
No, yeah. I know. Yeah,
on my scale, 7 is very good.
Yes. For me, I loved the first Creed. I thought it did such a great job. And then Creed 2, which is kind of the movie we're talking about, I would give like a 7 out of 10, just because of a lot of the formula stuff, a lot of the kind of, it brought in more of the manufactured get to the beats type of moments. But that said, it did a lot of things that surprised me and I thought were really effective. We talked a lot about
Would
the
you say
themes.
your expectations were subverted?
Subverted? Sure. Wesley, what did you think?
So I would give both of them a 9 out of 10. I really like them. I think they're really effective based on everything we've gone over. I have very few negatives, and what I do have are nitpicks. So like, I think that there was way too much handheld cam in this one, for instance, like
That's
way too much like right up in
general
your face.
Now.
Well, Creed didn't have that. It didn't have that like right up in your face, Zero Dark 30 style.
Steadicam
like,
is handheld.
No, this is like jerking around.
You're right. TV is more of an. TV does that more than movies does.
And like where like your top of your head and the bottom of your chin are both out of frame. Like that's good for like really intense shots, but when your entire
when you
dialogue
use it all the time,
like
it loses its influence.
Yeah, it just becomes claustrophobic, and it's but even despite that, it had great atmosphere. Like I felt very into it. I can't think of a single thing from the movie that I would cut. I can think of little changes I'd make. So it effectively blends heavy themes, a message, a really universal message, I think, and a great movie. So it's not, one without the other. It's not like, well, we didn't go with themes. We wanted to make a great movie or a great enjoyable movie. It does both like perfectly.
Yep.
So I would definitely both 9s. I'm interested to know what would get a 9 from you, Aaron.
Very few things, actually.
I don't remember.
The Godfather's a 9 point.
Fame.
I'm assuming there's no 10 for you. Yeah. See, I think you can be perfectly flawed.
Well, other than
that's why my Hall of Fame ratings are not necessarily very high.
Yeah, they're not as high as others would. But that said, though, next week's movie is obviously a 10 out of 10 because it's our 100th episode.
Yay!
It's our 100th episode.
Harry
I can't believe
and the Hendersons.
So next. It's fun. It's great because Ben isn't here.
Okay.
So next week we have our 100th episode. If you don't know, we're doing Harry and the Hendersons, which
what?
Seems like a surprise for. Although if you followed this show, it's not a surprise. Here because this movie, it's hard to understate how significant it is for him. Would you agree, Aaron? It's hard to even.
Everybody's got that one movie.
It's kind of it'll. Making jokes. I think he's going to bring it. He's going to be so focused on. I think, Aaron, you and I should just make fun of the movie the whole time and see how he reacts. All that said,
I will try.
Next week, we're doing Harry and the Hendersons, and it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be certainly different than any other episode we've done because naturally it's our 100th episode, and we've been saving this for this moment for next Thursday. So.
Any critique, any comments negative about Harry and the Hendersons in the comments, will be taken as an act of aggression.
I will read them all so you can see it on his face. What happens?
Ben is going to reach through the Ethernet cable and punch you.
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. So,
cool. Yeah.
Jeez. I'm gonna speaking of that, I'm gonna make a proclamation here. Much like the themes of Rocky, you're never done in life, and that's why I think there should always be new Rocky movies coming out. Whether they're Creed or whatever comes after that.
Amara, is that her name? Amara. Yeah. Mick Jr.
Mick the Third, actually, probably at this point. Anyway,
can I make a plug real quick?
Sure, yeah, go for it.
Working on 3 more Flash reviews. Currently writing those. Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald, apparently, and Widows and Robin Hood. So expect those eventually.
Yeah, so Wesley's he's been doing, if you haven't seen the Overlord one, I think I hinted at it one time, he's making these quick flash reviews for movies that we may not necessarily talk about. Facebook, YouTube. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
All the sound effects.